All right, students, in this last video of the review, I'm going to go over questions from Unit 2 and Unit 1. On Unit 2, we talked about the relationship of angles whenever we have parallel lines, and also a perpendicular and parallel lines. So let's go over that. This first example has, if line L is parallel to line M, find the value of x. So this is where we had to recall the relationship of the angles that are created when a parallel line is cut by a transversal. This example specifically is talking about this angle right here compared to this angle right here. This is a pair of corresponding angles. And when you have corresponding angles, it looks like they just slide it. They just slide from one place to another. When they are just corresponding, that means nothing changed. They just slide somewhere else, so they're equal to each other. So that's how you start this problem. 8x plus 20 equals 11x minus 31. And then this results in an equation where you just have to solve for x. So we move the x to one side, minus 11x. We move the numbers, the constants, to the other side. And we end up with negative 3x equals negative 51. And then from here we divide, and x will equal 17. So that answers the question. It's asking for the value of x, so x equals 17. For the next problem besides that, we have another pair of parallel lines cut by a transversal. However, this is where you need to understand that it's trying to trick you with three different angles. And those three different angles create this line. So when you have a line that is created, these all add up to 180 degrees because they form that line. Another thing that you can do is also just understand you have two angles given, and we could combine those numbers, so 39 plus 57, and find out what that is combined, and then you will subtract that from 180. I'm going to show you the algebraic way though. Like I said, three different angles added together to equal 180, and we're going to have 39 plus x plus 57 equals 180. If we subtract 39 from both sides, it'll cancel. And then if we subtract 57 from both sides, it'll cancel. And you're left with x equals, and then let's put this together and it'll result in 84. So x equals 84 degrees. For the next part, we have alternating angles. So alternating angles are the line, the transversal line. I'll just put this in this color. This transversal line cuts through the parallel lines, creating alternate exterior, meaning the outside. So like 1 and 8, those are outside of the parallel lines. The parallel lines being right here. And then alternate exterior means opposite sides of the transversal. So one on this side, one on that side, and then they're outside. Notice that this is outside the parallel lines. Inside will be those right there. So alternate exterior angles could be angle 1 and angle 8. But we could also say these others, 4 and 5. Or angle 4 and angle 5. Okay, another one is the alternate interior. So for alternate interior, we're going to look at opposite side of the transversal again, like this, opposite side, and inside the parallel line. So we're looking at maybe angle 3 and angle 6. They're on opposite sides of the transversal line. Angle 3 and angle 6. Or we could also say angle 2 and 7. They're opposite of the transversal. Consecutive exterior, we're looking at on the same side. Consecutive meaning same side. And then exterior meaning on the outside of the parallel line. So like angle 5 and angle 8, those are consecutive exterior. Or we could say also the other side, angle 1 and angle 4. And then consecutive interior, we're looking at same side, but on the inside. So like angle 2 and angle 3. They're on the inside, they're on the same side. So 2 and 3. Or we could also say 6 and 7. All right, so this part is just remembering and recognizing which angles are called what. For this last part on Unit 2 is remembering how perpendicular lines are related to each other. So we know right away, as soon as you see perpendicular, slopes are opposite, meaning one's positive and one's negative. And then reciprocal, meaning they flip. So we're going to look at the slope that we have right now. From one point to another, the rise over the run, you rise 1, you run 2. Rise 1, run 2. So the slope right now, it's rise 1 and run 2. So we're going to have a perpendicular line. We're going to have a flipped version of this, so 2 over 1. And then we're going to have a, I'll put the new slope, negative, because this is positive, so this is negative. So opposite, positive, negative, and then reciprocal, flipped. So this is the answer that simplifies to -2. And if you think about it, if we want to check, we want to just pick a point and then go down 2, because we go down 2 and across 1. Down 2, 1, 2, and across 1. Down 2, across 1. Down 2 and across 1. So this already shows you that it does create that 90-degree angle right there. All right, let's review Unit 1. Unit 1 is when we started school, which is way back a long time ago when we talked basics. We talked first, how do you find the distance between 2 points? Oh, sorry. We find the length between point L and point M. You can use graph paper and plot these points if you need to. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, somewhere here, that's point L. And then -1, 6, so somewhere over here, that's point M. You don't need to graph it though, because to find the distance, rise over run cannot help. I saw several of you doing rise over run. We don't do slope, we do distance. So distance formula from here is created by picturing a right triangle being formed. You count how much do you go up and down, and then how much you go across. And that kind of creates like a right triangle that has A, B, and C value. So we can do a squared plus b squared equals c squared to find this, or we could just use distance formula. The distance formula is the x values subtracted from each other squared plus the y values subtracted from each other squared. So the difference of the y's and difference of the x's added together, but first you're going to square them. And that comes out from this Pythagorean theorem. The a squared, it's the distance from here to here. So from this part to this part, what's the difference between 6 and -8? So that's where the y's are used. So 6 minus -8. And then we have from 6 to 8, you have a total of 14 spaces. And you square that. And then the other part is from here to here, from -1 to +3. What's the distance? So that's 4 spaces. And that 4 comes from the difference of the x's. So you have the difference from -1 minus 3 squared. Okay, so here we have -1 minus 3, that's -4, and -4 squared is 16. Over here we have 6 minus -8. 6 minus -8 is +8 technically, so 6 plus 8, that's 14. 14 squared. And that is, I believe, 286. Let me check. 14 squared. It is 196. Okay, and I just want to show that if you do Pythagorean theorem, you end up getting the same answer. So 14 square is 196, and then 4 times 4 is 16. And this is just equaling c squared. Here we find that the distance equals the square root of that. So it's the same thing as just showing you that here we got to do the square root of that answer, and it gives you your c value, which is the distance. Or over here, we just do the square root of that, and it gives you the distance there. It's the same answer. So let's just do that. 16 plus 196 inside of the square root, and that gives you 14.56. So the distance here is 14.56. Just pick a method that you want to do, either distance formula or Pythagorean theorem. Okay, the next question is, which point is collinear to point C and E? So keyword collinear. C and E are right here, so that means they're part of this line right here. And collinear, in case you forgot, is on the same line. So knowing that vocabulary, you already can see that letter A, point A, is that point that is collinear to that line. Our next question we have here is determine the values for x, y, and z based on the analysis that you have. 90 degrees is given right here. That means that this part is also 90 degrees. So these two add up to 90 degrees. Therefore, 90 minus 72, that will give you 18. We can say that the letter C equals 18 degrees. Next, if this is 18 degrees, let's look up here. Oh, we know that these form a line, but we also know that, let me show you with another color, this also forms a line. So these two are two angles that add up to 180. And we call those linear pair. So 180 minus 72, we can find out what x equals. And 180 minus 72 is 108. 108. Okay, so that takes care of finding this. This is 108. And this is 18. And then to find that last part, we can again remember that this whole thing is 180. So that also means that this is 72. And then now that we write 72, you notice that these two are equal. So that is true because of vertical angles. When you have an x created, you create a pair of vertical angles. So that's how we have the answer for the letter Y. Okay, I hope this helps you so far. Let's do one more question. This is what we were just discussing about the vertical angles that are created whenever you have two lines intersecting like that. So we can write 6x plus 7 equals 8x minus 17, and then just solve for x. So minus 8x minus 7. So that's 2x equals negative 24. Divide by 2. Oh, I'm sorry, this is actually negative 2. So divide by negative 2, so x equals 12. The question is asking you to solve for x, so you're done. All right, please study, please review. Good luck on your test.